Not having the right bidding strategy in place is really what can make or break your campaign inside Google Ads because every account is different in terms of the bidding strategy they should be using depending on where they're currently at inside their campaign lifecycle. And in today's video, we're going to walk you through how each bidding strategy actually works and real campaign examples of when you should use each one. And just to briefly define what a bidding strategy actually is, and it's called a bidding strategy as well because Google Ads is an auction, and each time your ad appears, it's a placement of where you're at compared to competitors' ads. And it's the method you use to determine how much you're willing to pay for each ad placement. So each time your ad is placed on the page and your ad gets a click, you'll have a different cost per click for that interaction. And your bidding strategy is the way Google Ads determines what that cost per click will actually be. But it's also more about what you're willing to pay per click. It's also what Google Ads actually tries to optimize for in terms of what you want to achieve inside your Google Ads account. Because certain bidding strategies are more focused on getting traffic, for example, target impression share or maximize clicks. And then there's other strategies that are focused on just getting conversions, for example, max conversions. But to actually get to the point of adding our bidding strategy, we're going to go to new campaign and go through the first few initial steps as if we were making a brand new campaign and deciding which bidding strategy we wanted to add. So we could just go leads here and just skip through these first few steps, which will bring us to our bidding strategy. So you can choose search for the campaign type and just press continue. And obviously you can name your campaign as you like. But this will bring us straight to our bidding strategies then. And you can see here then the bidding strategy options that we've got. And we have conversions, conversion value, clicks, or impression share. And we're just going to walk you through each of these bidding strategies with examples of when to use them and what we typically recommend doing for all of the campaigns that we're running. So, conversions, first of all, as it states, you're optimizing for conversions. And conversions are the actions that you define yourself. And usually, if you're a service based business, you set up conversion tracking for form submissions, which is when somebody fills out the form on your landing page, or if somebody calls you. And maximize conversions is you're basically telling Google to get you as many of these form submissions or phone calls as possible within my budget. And the most common question, I see really often as well is then why isn't it just so obvious that I should go straight to max conversions? Because that's obviously what we want to achieve inside the Google Ads account. And obviously we only want to focus on conversions because we only care about conversions and not clicks. But something we've noticed across so many different Google Ads accounts that we've worked on is that the max conversions bidding strategy generally tends to work a lot better on accounts or campaigns that already have quite a lot of conversions to work with at the beginning. But the whole purpose of maximize conversions is that you're telling Google to get us as many conversions, which are the actions you set, either form submissions or phone calls within your budget. And now with that as well, you have the option to set a target cost per action. So now you're not just telling Google to get you as many conversions as possible within your budget anymore, but you're asking them to do so at a certain cost per lead. So you want to get as many conversions as possible, but you're giving Google a guide as to how much you're willing to pay per conversion. And this is a point that I recommend all campaigns trying to get to. But the issue with it is that you need to be getting consistent conversions at a consistent cost per lead to actually be able to set this in the first place. Because if you were to just go to straight to max conversions and set a target cost per action, then Google wouldn't be able to get you conversions for that amount because you don't have conversion data inside the account of Google already getting you conversions for that amount. So, what I recommend doing is getting consistent conversions inside your campaign first. And once you have a lot of conversions coming in consistently for around, for example, $50 per conversion, is that you can set a target cost per action of €50 or dollars or whatever you're paying per conversion at that time. And that's the key as well to target CPA is that I recommend setting it to what you were already paying per conversion. And then you can start to bring down that target cost per action the more your cost per lead comes down as you continuously optimize your campaign. Now, the next one is conversion value. And we typically don't use this one inside any lead generation campaigns because it's more suitable when you're actually making sales on your landing page, for example, with ecom, and would only be worth using, for example, if you're sending clear data back to Google Ads, if you have, for example, HubSpot and Zapier connected with Google Ads, and you're sending that data back to Google Ads on exactly how much each lead is worth because you're giving Google back that sales data. But for the most part, if you're running a lead gen campaign, I just recommend using maximize conversions or maximize conversions with a target CPA, depending on where you're currently at, as we mentioned. And usually using conversion value isn't going to be necessary unless you're making actual sales on your website or you're feeding all of that sales data back to Google Ads. And then with the other optimization options, then you have maximize clicks, where you're simply just telling Google to get you as much clicks as possible. And you might ask as well, why would we want to just get as many clicks as possible when we obviously only want to get conversions? And the answer to that is because using maximize clicks early on inside any campaign is the quickest way to actually get a lot of conversions, because the more clicks you're getting, the more conversions you'll get, as long as you're targeting the right quality traffic by using the right keywords and directing that traffic to highly relevant landing pages that make it as easy as possible to convert into a form submission or phone call. So you can still use maximize clicks and get a lot of conversions as long as you have everything set up correctly with your keywords, ads, and landing pages inside your campaign. But what I'd always recommend doing with maximize clicks is setting a maximum cost per click bid limit, because you don't want to give Google no limit whatsoever on what you're willing to pay per click, because you might end up paying twice or three times as much as you'd like to per click for low quality clicks that mightn't convert. Because with maximize clicks, you're still not at the point where you're optimizing for conversions just yet. So the quality of those clicks mightn't always be as high as you would later on inside your campaign lifecycle when you switch over to max conversions. And what I recommend setting this number to is when you're doing your keyword research inside your keyword planner and you see a long list of keywords displayed, you'll see over on the right hand side that you have your top of bid low range and high range, meaning that these are the cost per clicks that you can expect to pay for these keywords. And if you set your maximum cost per click bid limit somewhere near the high range, then you know that you'll be able to get enough traffic to actually get clicks early on and then actually start focusing on conversions. And lastly, then impression share, as it mentions, is that you're simply trying to get as many impressions as possible, meaning that for all of the possible searches that you could appear for based on the keywords that you're targeting in your location with the times of day that your ads are running, is that you want your ads to simply just show up as much as possible. And you're not necessarily trying to get as many conversions as possible, but simply just as many people seeing your ads as possible and just trying to get a lot of traffic early on. But when it comes to trying to get as much traffic early on as possible, I typically find that maximize clicks is the best way to go, because it allows us to get a lot of conversions early on as well, and then allows us to focus more on conversions, which is what we really want to do the most. So, what we typically recommend for any campaign that we're running is actually starting out with maximize clicks for the most part and setting a competitive maximum cost per click bid limit with the aim of getting on average one lead per day. So that way, within about a month, we'll be able to switch over to maximize conversions and actually continuously get more and more consistent conversions coming from that, because we found maximize conversions to perform a lot better when we've gotten that conversion data first. So it's not something you want to rush into straight away if you're working with an account without a lot of conversion data. But another scenario where you can use maximize conversions is that if you are starting a new campaign, but it's in an account that is getting a lot of conversions and has a lot of conversion data, then maximize conversions also works in that scenario. And then with maximize conversions, you can start setting a target CPA once you've been getting consistent conversion over the last 30 days. And typically, if you've gotten about 30 conversions in the last 30 days, then it's enough conversion volume to actually implement a target CPA. And as I mentioned, I usually recommend setting that number for as close as possible to what you're already paying per lead. So those are the main bidding strategies inside Google Ads broken down, and what we typically recommend doing for any new lead generation campaigns for service-based businesses, depending on where they're currently at with the amount of conversions that they actually have. But now, if you do have any questions about anything we mentioned inside this video, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you do like this Google Ads related content as well, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as we'll be posting all things related to Google Ads here daily. And hopefully we'll see you inside the next video.